The Hospitalitarian Podcast focuses on conversations with forward-thinking people who make the community of New York State hospitality compelling and noteworthy. If it's happening in food, beverage, or agriculture in New York, we are digging in. In this episode, a follow-up to my conversation with Frank Elias, the tables turn. What begins as a continuation of our earlier discussion becomes something else entirely. A fun and reflective, and I promise, completely unscripted conversation about transition, identity, what comes after building a brand and letting go of it. Frank presses pause on the telling of his own story and asked me to talk honestly about mine. Leaving the farm-to-table eatery we founded in Utica after 15 years, closing that defining chapter, and stepping into something new. We talk about why the Hospitalitarian Podcast exists, not so much as a media project, but as an extension of the same work that I've always cared so deeply about, strengthening local food systems, amplifying the stories of our producers, and building economic resilience through relationships. I'm going to share how Farm to Table evolved for me from a cooking and sourcing philosophy into a community and economic framework, one that includes farmers, distributors, chefs, winemakers, and everyone in between. You can tell that Frank and I, along with our pal and producer Ryan Miller, are having a good time, and honestly, it was easy. I hope it makes you smile and laugh. I really appreciate you tuning in for this fun and personal bonus episode of The Hospitalitarian. So check it out, episode 1.5.
All right, Tim.
You turned the table.
I'm going to put the screws on you.
All right.
Because this, it was
How's
your first
mic,
podcast.
Brian?
It was your first podcast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All new, but this is your first podcast.
Indeed. And like Ryan had said to me, they're not all going to be good.
Well, no, and you're going to walk away and you're going to know the gut feeling, whether it was good or not, right? But tell us your story, because you're 15 years Taylor and Cook, and on what? Today's the day after Thanksgiving, Friday. This is Black Friday, right? Yeah. This is your first podcast with me. Yeah. The day before Thanksgiving, I saw a Facebook post that says, all right, this is it. This is my last day at Taylor and Cook. Yeah. I'm out after 15 years. Tim, this is like wake the hell up moment, because this is like real. This is your next chapter, and I'm proud of you for this.
Thank you.
You're adapting, right? All right. Here's what you've done. Taylor and Cook, 15 years. You did Utica bread. You started it, you built it, you sold it off. Taylor and Cook, you started, you built it, you sold it off. This, in certain retrospect, right? You interviewed me this morning.
Sure.
All right. Now I'm looking at you and I'm saying, Tim, this is a pretty big thing. What are you going to do now? What does your next chapter look like? You got 2 successful spin-offs in front of you, as well as other private deals, real estate that you continue to be successful with. Where are you taking this one?
First, the real estate is important. And I think that real estate, I think it's ever more important here in Utica that we've all made these investments and really put a lot of faith in the downtown of this city and what's happening. So I'm not leaving Utica by any stretch. Never
thought you would.
No. My investments here are as important to me as they've always been. It was just that there's the time and a place for the Taylor and the Cook.
You're going to take this podcast where? Who are you interviewing next? What is your goal? What is the outcome you want to see as a result of this podcast?
A rising tide lifts all ships. That's how I've always looked at, Farm to Table was first and foremost the food and the quality of it. But it really quickly became economics and community to me, like conversations and relationships is really what Farm to Table is about. And it even, Farm to Table just means local, You can't operate a restaurant without a good cup of coffee. So while I'm not going to source beans globally, I'm going to align myself with somebody that I trust the process. Just so happened we shared a wall, so that worked out pretty well for us. But the concept of farm to table is the concept of local. And local, you can't pigeonhole yourself in this day and age, but I think it's pretty fair to say that the state of New York is a pretty good local to have. That's what I want to talk about.
Right.
We'll start here in the Mohawk Valley, in central New York, but we will branch out. I want to talk to all the people in New York, in food, beverage, hospitality, agriculture, all those stories and conversations that I've been having over the years as I sourced product.
How do you break New York State apart, and what geographic regions do you think are like relevant to?
That is an excellent question. That's so. I look at New York, and I do think about this. So, and a lot of it has to do with my love of New York State wine. So I'm going to follow
By the way, what are we drinking right now?
This is a Cabernet Franc from Eminence Farm. They're down in the Hudson Valley, but I believe the fruit, Lamb's Quarters Vineyard. Yeah, so the fruit is from the Finger Lakes. So they buy Eminence Road is down kind of somewhere between the southern tier and the Hudson Valley, and that kind of there's a where the Hudson Valley meets the southern tier is where Eminence Farm is. But so they buy their fruit from the Finger Lakes. Anyway, I look at it.
So on Route 88 somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
There you go.
I try to look at the state of New York. You've got the Adirondacks and all of the northern part of New York, which is probably the least significant agricultural, but arguably the most significant geographic, and the hardest to get around. Right, distribution in the North Country can be a challenge. You've got Western New York, and it borders Niagara Falls and another country. So that's a pretty important part of New York State. You've got the midsection that is the Finger Lakes, and that, to me, rolls into the Mohawk Valley in central New York.
Right.
And I like our proximity to the Finger Lakes because I'm such a New York State wine geek. And then you've got pretty much, I feel like the Hudson Valley starts even north of geographically, this is not correct, but I think the Hudson Valley region starts at Albany and heads all the way south. Then you've got the southern tier that, it borders Pennsylvania and is agriculturally very diverse, and that is the below, central New York and below the Finger Lakes. And then New York City and Long Island. Who could ever say that they lived in a state that dynamic?
Hey, what's your favorite food? The chef.
It's an impossible.
Come on, man. One meal. It's like your last meal, Tim.
Row,
what is it?
Your death row. It's probably mac and cheese. Because it has
so
to be
out of
something.
The blue.
It has to be something that conjures something from your childhood. Right?
All right.
My grandma's mac and cheese, a homemade mac and cheese.
What kind of cheese?
Good sharp cheddar, New York State cheddar, but you can't just have one cheese in a good mac and cheese. Cheddar, if it's good and sharp, does not melt well. It does not have a great mouthfeel when it melts. It has great mouthfeel in its rawest form in aged cheddar. But you need a softer cheese to be a vehicle, whether it be a cream cheese or a farmer's cheese, a mozzarella. So a blend of cheeses with a lead of New York State cheddar.
Favorite meat.
Probably a sausage of some sort. The art of making charcuterie and turning very inferior cuts.
Dude, by the way,
into
Taylor
a
and Cook
sausage.
charcuterie board, best ever.
Oh, so good.
Best ever. And then whoever came up with the idea to split it. Was that like part of the menu
when we divided
plan?
it in from cheese and charcuterie.
Yes. Was that part of the menu plan, or did you just do it because
it was logical
wanted it
evolution? Because that was such an important part of dining at the Tailor and the Cook, right? And we weren't even making it; we were curating it.
Yeah.
These were.
You were curating.
100% of those cheeses we did not make.
Right.
100% of those cheeses were sourced from other cheesemakers, and about 75% of the charcuterie was sourced.
The story of that charcuterie board, and the way you trained every one of your people to tell the story of New York State producers was phenomenal.
It really was.
Ever be a story to be told. It was one thing that every time you went to Tailor and Cook, you kind of look forward to, and you did.
We put a cheese board on almost every day.
Awesome.
I mean, if you dined at the Tailor and the Cook and you didn't have a cheese board or a butcher's board, there was even a time we did what I called a relish board, and we did it all with vegetables, raw, roasted, fermented, salted. That was made in house, but those things are that concept of curating those cured meats and cheeses from all around the state was inherently what I wanted to do. We made really good food and continue to. Some of the chefs that went through the Tailor and the Cook, I mean, those people helped to make that concept.
Those people, yeah.
Yeah, not just me. But I always did love sourcing and curating the cheeses and charcuterie. A lot. I like that a lot. It's in essence a position of procuring, a buyer.
In the 15 years that you ran Tailor and Cook, one moment, snapshot in time. Where are you right now? What are you thinking of? What is it?
It's probably 2015. Post getting that Open Table award that changed everything for us. Open Table, top 100 restaurants in the United States. 2015 was a really wild year. I mean, we worked hard. We were tremendously busy.
Yep.
And we were really developing. We were in that stage of developing ourselves. And I'm so grateful that we had the volume and the brand that brought people towards us, because it allows us to develop ourselves in a way that we never would have in another way. And as the years went on, the significance of that top 100 restaurants, that kind of waned, but it allowed us to define ourselves in such a way that I know we operated at that level going forward. That put the spotlight on us and gave us enough pressure that we were able to really develop into something super special.
What makes you proud to be you?
Mostly my wife and kids.
Yeah, good answer, man.
I mean,
cheers. Do me a cheers. Give me a cheers on that one, brother.
If you don't answer that with your wife and kids, if I don't answer that with my wife and kids, then I'm just not paying attention. Because to have the support and the guidance and mentorship that I've gotten from Melissa over the years, holy shit, man.
Right.
I'd be in big trouble. And then
two kids now?
Yeah, this guy that didn't want kids. This chef that didn't want kids.
You got two kids now?
Yeah, two kids. Finn is 16, sorry.
Wow.
And Asa is 8. What I did was combine the ages there. But that's why post-COVID, I needed to make a change. I had a good COVID, to quote Dan Williams, I had a good COVID, and it made me realize that I didn't want to go back to working the way that I did. And
your values changed a little.
Yeah, and they changed a lot. And that's how the Tailor and the Cook evolved. It wasn't sustainable for me and my family anymore because the restaurants are
So your business, like you asked me, hey, did you go through phases? That was a phase for you.
Totally. I think that the Tailor and the Cook is 4 phases. I do think about stuff. That's because I know the phase 1 was, up until we got that Open Table Award.
Right.
That was
Boom.
All hands on deck.
0 to 150.
Flailing in that. And then we got that award. Phase 2 was the brand development, the concept development. And that happened as a result of the spotlight that was put on us and the volume that we had to work with. And that went all the way till COVID, I believe. Phase 3, if everybody's business changed a phase when COVID happened, right? So that was the beginning of Phase 3. And we had to be really creative in really, really interesting ways in order to continue to give a high quality product. We weren't the kind of restaurant that throws what's really good in takeout. Chicken parm is really good in takeout. Like some things travel well. Our food didn't travel well, so we had to adapt. So that was Phase 3, and then Phase 4 was when I sold the majority share to the Mohawk Valley Garden Group. A very important phase. For me personally, one of the absolute joys of my career, being able to scale it up the way that we did, and then step away.
And that's a special skill set in itself. Again, going back to your founding of Utica Bread, and then Taylor and Cook.
So I really need to put a fine point on this. If you are looking for design services for your business or your brand, you need to look into McGrogan Design. My dude, Ryan McGrogan, is a pro in his field and a true creative. And I can tell you this with a lot of confidence because McGrogan Design is behind most of what you see in my brands these days. Logos, graphic and web design, McGroganDesign.com.
But take me back to Phase 3 just a little bit, because you're going through a time frame of COVID, post-COVID, but you're also supplying your supply base is supplying your top 100 restaurant. How did that supply base change during COVID? And how has that supply base changed for the good? And how might it never be the same?
Our supply chain, and when I say ours, I mean those folks who look at sourcing their food, locally.
Right.
And that can happen in California or in the Midwest or in New York where we are. If you were already paying attention to sourcing locally, what it did was highlight the ineptitudes of the larger supply chain, right? We all saw that breakdown. But, man, our local food economy was never stronger than mid to late COVID. The farms were booming.
Right.
And remember, we had to, figure it all out as we went. But I remember, saying, you gotta support these farms. And then, as the process that was the pandemic rolled on, we did those virtual farmers markets and things. But our local producers, they all benefited. I shouldn't say they all. That's probably pretty presumptuous. But a lot of them, and a lot of the ones that I work with, really benefited from the processes that we all went through in COVID, and whether it be packaging or distribution. The nice thing is, COVID didn't affect the climate.
Right.
It affected our climate, but not the sun and the moon and the stars and the rain and the wind. So things still grew. How do we, and people started paying attention to local foods that hadn't been paying attention to them. They couldn't get eggs at the grocery store, and we've had a couple of egg weirdnesses. Mm-hmm. What's wild about an egg?
Has our local economy been impacted by those egg weirdnesses?
I mean, yes and no. Supply and demand, so there aren't any egg shortages from the people that I buy eggs from.
Right.
And yet the price goes up, because, Peter and Susie Jones, my main
larger
market. Yeah, they didn't raise their prices, but, when you go up the one little level to, your closest food hub, right? And so you're buying eggs from New York State through a distribution channel. Those prices went up because everything is connected.
So all this knowledge, right?
Yep.
Is within you. The passion is still within you.
Oh,
You can see it.
absolutely. Yeah,
you
yeah.
hear it. You feel it, right? Phase 4, I sold Taylor and Cook. I'm out, right? Podcasts, yes. Passion, what is it? And tell us what impact you want to have on fulfilling your inner values, your inner mission, your inner purpose.
That is a remarkably profound question. Thanks for asking it. And
My work became very community focused early on. That's what Farm to Table is. I already said that, and that's what I still want to be a part of that community. I still want to cook food, but I also want to help bolster and strengthen our local food economy, and that means wine and beer and spirits. That means every facet of food, whether it's grains or fermentations or produce, cheese making, dairy, on and on. I want it to be so that I never have to leave this state. You know, I'm still going to need my coffee, and I'm still going to need, I personally could live without bananas. I'd have a hard time without coffee. Lemons and limes and oranges, I'd miss them. But I love the idea of thinking about things in a way that, what if I couldn't source it locally?
Right.
You know, and citrus is, as a cook, citrus is always the thing. Like, how would I replace that if I couldn't source those? Because I am farm to table and I am sourced locally, yet, you know, citrus is an important part of.
Is there anything locally you could use as a citrus substitute?
Yes, and I posed this to this could have been a meeting at the Taylor and the Cook around 2019 or 2020.
Can I guess?
Where, yeah, please.
I'm going to guess some sort of evergreen pine. Close, not
Most
close.
of those are going to be bitter.
Yeah, okay.
Real bitter. Things to achieve acidity in New York State that are not citrus. Vinegars of any kind. So
there you go.
You can make a vinegar anywhere.
Sure.
So a vinegar should be your first thought, no matter where you are. Whey, an acidic byproduct of cheese making.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Sumac grows abundantly locally and is tart and acidic. Those are the first things that I think about trying to achieve if I'm using, you know.
Sumac.
Yeah, sumac.
How is that in our local diet right now, if at all?
Very little. Now, if you were indigenous to this area, the Oneida people, I mean, they're using sumac, but that is a great way. I mean, if you were eating dinner at the Taylor and the Cook, you might have partaken in some, but otherwise not. Otherwise not, you know, and that's unfortunate because it's certainly abundant in our area. Back to the bigger question, I want to exist in that same food scene that I've existed in, that same hospitality scene. I want to have conversations about people's businesses, people's products, people's practices, so that we can bolster that, you know, economic engine that is local. And in my world, local is New York State. I can pull from Long Island and call it local. I'm proud of that. I can pour wines.
New York State.
Yeah, I can pour wines from the North Fork. I can procure live snails from the North Fork of Long Island. I can procure a cheese from the Adirondacks, a wine from the Finger Lakes, a beef producer from the Hudson Valley.
All New York State.
Yeah, man, that is what I want to be a part of, and I want to now look a little further than just the four walls of a restaurant. I want to be a little bit more all-encompassing.
All right, you're at a 30, 60, 90, 100,000. You're in outer space looking down at our bigger region, right? What's the biggest unknown that we have here that is such a gem of a resource that we just aren't seeing?
Well, a resource. Where we live, our resource is the natural beauty of and the abundance of the geography in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. I think that's our greatest resource. I have to take this conversation to New York State wine. That's one of my biggest passions. Climate change has positively affected the Finger Lakes in a lot of different ways, which is a wild thing to say. I think the next 20, 30 years will show New York State as one of the premier wine regions in the world.
Dang.
I'm wicked proud to have been a part of that.
That's big.
Yeah, man.
That's big. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are there sulfates in wine? Are there sulfates in New York State wine? And is New York State required to put stuff in its wine to preserve it?
They're not required. There are a lot of fine wines that use trace amounts of sulfites to.
Do they all have to use it in New York State?
No. In fact, a lot of them will say, proudly not using it. There's a whole new trend of wine, the natural wine movement.
Oh, yeah.
That is generally.
I don't know anything about this.
It's generally, sustainable, probably organic, and generally any sort
Where
of
do you
sulfite
find
free.
these wines?
No, they're all around. I mean, half of the list at the Tailor and the Cook is of the natural wine movement, and the other half is of the.
That's the natural wine movement?
Yeah, it's very prevalent, but those wines are volatile and inconsistent, whereas the structure of winemaking, if you look at it in an old world style, there are reasons why we do everything we do, and they produce a very consistent and high quality product. So sulfites aren't a bad word. And they're definitely not a bad word when you talk about hams and bacons and things like that. People think they are.
Right. But
Everything
think about it. All that prosciutto ham.
Everything needs to be used in moderation. So I think that one of our greatest resources, to answer your question, is New York State wine, from the Finger Lakes, from the Hudson Valley, from the Niagara Escarpment, and from Long Island. And I am proud to have been a part of it for a long time in trying to be a microphone for it.
Sure.
But I think in 30 years, and that affects everything. I mean, you're in coffee, but if the Finger Lakes becomes a world-class destination for wine, not unlike Napa Valley,
bring it on.
It's going to help
Please.
the economics of Utica
Sure.
and everywhere of the entire state. So I believe in it, always have, and I've been tooting that horn for a decade, and so I do plan to hopefully get involved in some projects with New York State wine too, down the road. I got a bunch of ideas. I can't make even 90% of them, come to fruition on my own. So I might as well throw them at somebody else and see if they can do something with them.
Be part of the solution.
Totally. I like to help other people work hard. I want to work hard, but not as hard as I used to. I want to work hard in a
How old are you now?
46. Not young, not old, but old enough to know that I want to work differently than I did, So
46. Milestone years, 4 years from now, 50.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. Happy birthday. We're sitting here, same place.
Yeah.
What have you done this past 3-4 years?
Well, I hope I've put myself in a place where I am someone who you can be looked to as a resource for anything hospitality based in the state of New York. Somebody who can connect you with somebody else, somebody who can speak with knowledge and comfort about the quality of what we do in the state and the quality of what other people do. Mm-hmm. I would like to be a resource like that.
Did you go to college?
I did, 2 years, associate's degree from Paul Smith College.
Congratulations.
An associate's degree. I feel like that was all that worked for me. I would have never stayed on for a bachelor's.
Where is Paul Smith's?
Up in the Adirondacks, and a part of this state that I love very much, but would shudder to do business in. Tough to do business up in the North Country. People that can operate viable, vital, dynamic businesses up there, they have to work even harder than you and I work here in Utica. everything. You know, all those things you talked about: climate change, talent, and supply chain. I mean, we have our challenges here on the I-90 corridor, right?
Add to it.
That's how he breaks it down. Cut.
How was that?
I think it was great. I think the light overheated.
Dude, you know what's going to happen in here someday?
I think that's how
your
you say,
fucking
all right,
light's
guys,
going to
cut it
overheat. Your light's going to overheat in those sprinkler systems that you had to put in, that you had to put into every one of these cubicles is going to go off and you're going to flood it out.
I think.
Do you have flood insurance in here?
I do not. Frank, I don't have any insurance. Let me see if I can cool it down.
That's a great place to break it off, dude. It's all good.
Oh no, that was good. That was fun.
Doing that. Maybe some of that can be something.
Oh, it will be someday.
Throw it in the can, all right?
It will be someday, brother.
That was fun.
That was
I
a pleasure.
appreciate you taking time out of your day to do it.
It was a pleasure.
Indeed.
It's an honor, dude.
Well, thanks, man.
This is a big day for you.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. You I didn't really even think about the dynamics of the fact that it's the day after Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
2 days after.
You got some PTSD going on.
Miller, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
I know you're going to make something awesome out of it.
While the Hospitalitarian Podcast is rooted in the Mohawk Valley, we celebrate the whole of hospitality in the Empire State. The Hospitalitarian is recorded at MVCC Stinkubator and produced by Ryan Miller at Rust Belt Studios in Utica. Theme music by Nashua Robb.